dig back into Acts today, and hopefully we're going to get through 2 chapters. But I got to tell you, something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and something that I see almost everywhere I look, is God really can do the impossible. But I don't always trust Him enough. You know, back in the Old Testament, the Israelites, they would go to war, and God would say, you've got too many people. How in the world does that make sense? But 3,000, no, that's too much. Now let's go with 300, or let's go with 30, I don't know. But if God wants His people to have that kind of faith, why don't I have that kind of faith when I have a student that's dealing with suicidal thoughts? Or I've got somebody that's sick all the time. If God can make 300 or 30, I don't remember, if He can make them win a battle against insurmountable odds, then why can't He end the war in Ukraine? Why can He not turn somebody's life around? And so this is my struggle right now. I want to have more faith. I want to have that confidence that when I go to Him, I expect miraculous things to happen. And I'm not there yet. So, for my sake, y'all pray for me that my faith can grow. And I figure if my faith grows, then He can work with me more. So that's kind of my side for them. All right, so we're going to get to Acts 25. All right, so y'all know from what we've been reading, Paul has been taken into custody. And the Jews in Jerusalem were out to get him. And now he is in the custody of, I think, Festus, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're going to talk about this. All right. So 3 days after Festus had arrived in the province, he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. And that's where the chief priest and the leaders of the Jew, they gave him a report against Paul. All right, this is the problem we're having with this guy. And the Jews went up and they told Festus. And, you know, I bet they didn't have their villain t-shirt on when they went up there. I bet they went up there and said, you know, we're good, respectable people, and this Paul is doing this awful stuff, and so we need you to take care of it. And they appealed to him, and they requested, as a favor to them against Paul, just have him transferred back to Jerusalem, and we'll handle this stuff. They were, in fact, planning an ambush to kill him. Yeah, they were going to handle it. They were going to kill him along the way. But Festus replied that Paul was being kept at Caesarea and that he himself intended to go to Jerusalem. He said, no, I don't need to send him back. I'm going down there. I'll handle it when I get there. So, he said, let those of you who have any authority, y'all can just come down with me. And if there's anything wrong about this man, y'all can accuse him there. And after he'd stayed among them not more than 8 or 10 days, he went down to Caesarea. So he eventually got there. And the next day he took his seat on the tribunal and ordered Paul to be brought. He's like, all right, y'all bring him out here. And when he arrived, the Jews that had gone down from Jerusalem, they surrounded him. And they brought many serious charges against him, and they were charges that none of them could prove. But Paul got his turn to talk, and Paul said in his defense, you know what? I have in no way committed an offense against the law of the Jews, or against the temple, or even against the emperor. The stuff they're accusing me of, I didn't do. But Festus, wishing to do the Jews a favor, asked Paul, well, if that's true, do you wish to go up to Jerusalem and be tried there before me on these charges? Do you want me to take you back to your home country? And Paul said, you know what? No. I'm appealing to the emperor's tribunal. This is where I should be tried. I've done no wrong to these Jews, as you very well know. Now, if I am in the wrong and I've committed something of which I deserve to die, then I'm not trying to escape death. If I did something that needs that kind of punishment, then okay. But I didn't. And part of me, and this is me talking, I forget where exactly it was, but at some point there was prophecy given to Paul. I don't know, to him directly or through somebody else, that told him he was going to go before the emperor and testify. That is in there. Or am I remembering wrong? I'm pretty sure it was there. And so I'm wondering if he didn't already have this in mind, that I'm eventually supposed to go before the emperor, and he's looking at this, you know what, this is an opportunity to do that which I've been told I'm going to have to do. So he might have just been leaning into it. Or he could also know that, hey, these Jews are probably going to try to kill me on the way back to Jerusalem. So there are those things. But he's like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be tried. I'm appealing to the emperor's tribunal because I know I'm supposed to stand before him and testify. So he says, you know what, if I've done wrong and deserve to be killed, then I'm not trying to get out of it. But if there is nothing to their charges against me, then you can't turn me over to them. I'm appealing to the emperor. It's where I need to go. He is the only one that can really settle this the way it needs to be settled. Then Festus, after he conferred with his council, he replied, you've appealed to the emperor? To the emperor you're going to go. So you got your request. And after several days had passed, King Agrippa and Bernice arrived at Caesarea to welcome Festus. Hey, Festus is in town. Let's go and welcome him and you know. And since they were staying there several days, Festus laid Paul's case before the king, saying, y'all, I've got this man here who was left in prison by Felix. And when I was in Jerusalem, the chief priest and the elders of the Jews, they told me about him and asked me to sentence him. And I told them, you know what, it's not the custom of the Romans to hand over anyone before the accused had met the accusers face to face. I'm not just going to pronounce a sentence against Paul when there hasn't been a trial and he hasn't been able to stand up to the people that are accusing him of stuff. That's not the way the Romans do things. And Paul needs to be given an opportunity to make a defense against these charges. So when they met there, when they met here, I lost no time. But on the next day, I sat down on that tribunal and ordered the man to be brought. And when the accuser stood up, they didn't charge him with any of the crimes that I was expecting. Instead, they had certain points of disagreement with him about their own religion and about a certain Jesus who had died, but whom Paul asserts to still be alive. Well, since I was at a loss to investigate these questions, I asked whether he wanted to go to Jerusalem and be tried there on the charges. But when Paul appealed to be kept in custody for the decision of his imperial majesty, that's when I ordered him to be held until I could send him to the emperor. So he's just, you know, when y'all watch a TV show and at the beginning it tells you what happened last time on Batman or whatever. That's what Festus is doing to Agrippa and Bernice. He's bringing them up to speed. And Agrippa said to Festus, you know what, I'd like to hear this man myself. And Festus said, tomorrow, you're going to hear him. So on the next day, Agrippa and Bernice, they came with great pomp. I always want to say in circumstance, but you know, this isn't graduation. And they entered the audience hall with the military tribunes and the prominent men of the city, so everybody is there. And then Festus gave the order, and Paul was brought in. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all here present with us, you see this man about whom the whole Jewish community petitioned me, both the people in Jerusalem and here. And they shouted that he ought not to live any longer. They say he deserves to die. But I found that he has done nothing deserving death. And when he appealed to his imperial majesty, I decided to send him. I wasn't going to kill him. You want to go to the emperor, you get to go. But I don't have anything definite to write to our sovereign about him. Therefore, I brought him before all of you, and especially before you, King Agrippa, so that after we have examined him, I might have something to write. Because it seems unreasonable for me to send a prisoner without indicating the charges. He's like, what am I going to tell the emperor about this guy? I don't even understand the problem. And so I want you, Agrippa, to help me figure out what I need to say. All right, that's the end of 25.
Hey everybody, it's Tony again. Let me ask you a question. Do you have questions that you would like answered? Do you want advice on spiritual things? Because I want to help. I really would. I'd like to help you if I can. Now, let me be honest. I can't promise that I can solve every problem you have or that I can meet your every need because that's not going to happen. I can't. Um, and if I told you I could, it would be a lie. But I'm not going to lie to you. What I can promise is that if you ask me for something, then I'm going to at least pray about it for you. And, I'll try and help if I can, but, it's if I can. Um, if you would like my prayers or my advice or to talk about scriptural things or anything like that, what I want you to do is to text me or email me at he gave me a story at gmail.com. No spaces, no nothing, just all one word. He gave me a story at gmail.com. Now, there are some specific instructions to make sure I get it. So, what I need you to do to make sure and put help shared faith either in the subject line or in the body of the text. Um, Shared Faith is just the name of my Facebook page. And it's the filter that is going to send that email straight to me. Because if you don't put help shared faith in there, there's a good possibility I won't get it for weeks or months, um, if ever. And I don't want that to happen. So please make sure you put help shared faith either in the subject or the body of the text. And that's all I really have to say about that. I do want to say thank you for coming, for listening to the things I have to say, and for giving me the opportunity to present what I think God wanted me to talk about. Um, I know that sounds a little presumptuous, but I really feel like he leads me in these things. And I just wanted to share. So thank you for coming. And I pray that God really does bless you and your life and that he works to build you up and to make things better, to fill you with love and joy and happiness and all these wonderful things. I love you. God bless you. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.